Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special crossover edition, if you will, Tommy, between Talking Elite Fitness and our good friends Chase Ingram and Bill Grundler at Get With The Programming. Guys, how you doing? This is fantastic. It's so great to be here with the two of you.
I'm just afraid it's going to turn into like a little bro sesh because we haven't all
will.
sat down and talked for a while, you know? So I'm just stoked to be here, man.
It just sounds so good to hear those names come off your mouth. It's like
it has been a while. It has
Totally.
definitely been a while, but we wanted to do this episode with you guys because Tommy and I were kicking this idea around. It's like, okay, well, if they're gonna have the games at Aromas, what if we like try to program them with just events that they've had at Aromas? And I said, well, why don't we bring in the two guys that actually know about this, who have been doing it on their podcast, the Get With The Programming podcast, which if you're not listening to it, do it because it's fantastic. Chase and Bill.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's kind of the task that we put at hand here. It's like, let's take all the events that have taken place at the ranch and let's try to make some sort of test, throw out the fittest on earth when they show up in Aromas later this year.
Yeah, I thought the idea was super cool. I mean, it almost kind of begs to set it up that way since we have a variety of tests to look at, and it's been kind of fun. Like with me and Chase on the Get With The Programming podcast, we've been talking about every single one of those and the ones we like, the ones we don't like. Did the test work? Did the test not work? And we came up with some pretty interesting things. So the fact that you guys went to try to reprogram it with those events, I think it begs some really fun conversation of, okay, well, if we do use them, cool. If we don't use them, how would we change them? Or do we just ball it up and kick it out the door somewhere? So I think the idea is great.
I think that, one thing that CrossFit should do with these games in Aromas, and maybe they're going to do it, but I think they should really lean into the history of it and say, we're back where it all started. Let's make this look like we would have back in 2008 and 2009.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Because now we're in the second decade of competition history for the games, and there's a vast majority of the athletes that are now 5, 6, 7 years into CrossFit that have no idea what the games at Aromas looks like, who the major players were for a lot of those situations, or how those workouts and those moments in the dusty hills of Aromas, as we used to say, laid the foundation for
Dusty Ranch and Aromas.
Yeah.
Man, that line just creeps up all the time. It's so great.
You get a bonus point every time you do it.
We should be doing a drinking game and saying that and drinking every single time. Is what we should be doing.
Be wasted. For us, it was really cool to go through those on our podcast for the first 3 episodes, going from 7, 8 to 9. It was really cool to just kind of go back and not just look at the events and the people that were there, but to really kind of look at what the test was like. And there's a lot of things I just kind of overlooked or just made assumptions on prior to really getting into it. Like 2007 was just, I think as Pat Sherwood would say, it was just beautifully elegant in its most simplistic form. Come to find out, I didn't really like 2008 that much.
yeah.
Kind of like that jumping off point from what we know as the games today. They took a big step in terms of the evolution there. So I love the idea and the concept of having, even Dave said that on his Instagram, was like, we're going back to where it all started. We're not bringing in the age groups or the teams because they weren't there when it first began. So if we really are going to say that, I would actually really like to see them, use games of the past or at least events in some capacity, maybe modify them a little bit versus today's new age athletes. But I think that'd be a really cool concept.
Yeah. Well, let's run down for those of the people who don't know. And I actually had to look a lot of these up. I didn't know what all the events that took place at the ranch. So we'll start with 2007, pretty simple, as you said, Chase. We had CrossFit Total. We had the Hopper event, and what that came out to be was a 1,000 meter row and then 5 rounds of 25 pull-ups and 7 push jerks at 135 and 95. And that event was actually repeated. Was it
13?
13, yeah.
13,
so
yeah.
2007.
Yep.
That was in the tennis stadium. And then they ended and they had a 5K trail run. So that was it. Those are your 3 events.
Ish.
The are always kind of like
suspect.
Yeah. So what my neighbor Bobby marked out, he said it was 5K.
So then we moved to 2008, and this one every second counts format. So workout A was Fran. Workout B, that was 5 rounds for time of 5 deadlifts. For the men, it was a 275 and 10 burpees.
Was it chest to bar, Fran?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so chest to bar Fran.
Yes.
Then we had the hill run.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had 30 squat, clean, and jerks at 155 for the men. And that was your 2008 CrossFit Games.
There you have it.
Yeah, every second counts.
What did we come up with? Jason was the winner. Jason Kalipa was the winner of that one. His entire games competition took all of 13 minutes.
13.
Wow.
13 minutes for your CrossFit Games champion. There you go.
Not bad. That's not a bad little day's work to be called the fittest on earth.
I know.
Dang.
It takes me longer to warm up.
I know. So then we go to 2009, and this is where things really jumped up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
We had the 7K trail run. That was repeated again in 2016, if you guys remember when they took the athletes to the ranch for a day. And then again, another event that got repeated, that's the deadlift ladder. And for the men, it went from 315 to 505. And for the women, it went from 185 to 375. Then you had one of the most infamous events in all of games history. You had the 170-ish meter hill sprint with 35-pound sandbags. The men had 2, the women had 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the row 500 meters, pound a stake into the ground, and then row 500 meters. And there's some pretty famous video from some injuries that took place during that.
Yeah.
That's a great event. After that, 3 rounds for time, 30 wall balls, 30 squat snatches at 75 and 45. You had a 1-rep max snatch event. You had an 8-minute AMRAP of 4 handstand push-ups, 8 kettlebell swings at 32 and 24 kg, and then 12 GHD sit-ups. And then you had this event, this chipper, for time, 15 cleans at 155 and 100, 30 toes to bar, 30 box jumps at 24 and 20, 15 muscle ups, 30 dumbbell push press, 40 and 25, 30 double unders, 15 thrusters at 135.95, 30 pull-ups, 30 burpees, and then a 300-foot overhead walking lunge with a 45-pound plate for men and a 25-pound plate for women. It's a pretty good shot. I remember Tanya Wagner doing this, that event where you can see her doing the lunge. So that's kind of the menu that we have to work with here. I don't think we should rule out maybe pulling something from Carson or Madison, but
2016 games too.
Yeah, something like, the ranch chipper was part of that. I think we could throw that in there if we needed it. But I mean, when you look at this, like first glance going through this, I thought, man, there's enough here to do something I think really cool.
Yeah, and I want to say I love how everybody started laughing when the 30 double unders came out. It's like back then it seemed like an appropriate like length piece there, but nowadays that would be all of
that's a complete joke.
Because
that's a sneeze. That's a sneeze.
We just did the 2009 episode, I think last week, and we had Tanya Wagner on, who won the games and broadcasted with us over the almost the last decade. And I totally went off the rails on how the 30 double unders were. And to me, that's like the 50 double unders in the Filthy 50.
Yeah.
Towards the end. It's like,
which I just did 2 days ago.
50 burpees. Enjoy the rest of your workout.
Exactly. And well, it's funny because that year everyone had to use the same jump rope, right? It was those green handled, like plastic rope that didn't really spin that well, but it was like that's your jump rope. You have to use it. There wasn't any but man, that if there was ever a highlight of like how far the community has come for a workout, and like a finale, like just the 30 double unders and that alone.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and, we saw the pattern is the 15, 30, 30 all the way through. And, when we had our podcast and we were talking about that 30, it's like, well, what else are you going to do? So you're kind of stuck between either 30 double unders or 300 double unders.
Yeah.
It's like, well, just go with the 30, man. Just go with the 30. It's fine.
Just make them pick the rope up and do something for a couple of seconds. So I think that when we're looking at kind of how we want to program this, to me, and you guys might disagree, Tommy and I talked about this, but I think that if you did 3 events per day over 3 days and had a 9-event test at the ranch. And this is assuming that there were some sort of qualifying events beforehand that these athletes had to go through. So
Okay.
4 or 5, that maybe to get you to 14, 15 total events. I think that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, especially if they had a pre-qualifier going in. I mean, the games now are what, 14 events on average for the individuals, and maybe some 2 scored events counting as a double. But yeah, if they have, and you guys were talking about on your podcast last time, I absolutely love the concept of a filtering system, not just for this games, but for every games. Anyone outside that blue cut line, online competition can't, sift out your top 40, including what they already had. So it could be less or more than depending on guys or girls in the cut line. And then having something like that, especially with what we're limited to now, I think it adds to the quality of competition, having a little bit less, having gone through kind of a preset competition to filter it out. So I'm all for that.
Well, and I think you have to get rid of those. You have to knock those people out so that you can have your true competition. I think that's one of the issues, like at the games right now, like with the last year's games, you had so many athletes there in the qualifying rounds were basically happening at the games. And so that's what makes it so difficult, because everyone is in the games, but you're not really in the games yet. And I think that makes it difficult. So if they are going to have it, having it at Aromas, you obviously aren't going to be able to have 250 men and 250 women there and try to do your breakdown to that. So as long as you're able to have the right qualifying people get there, and then you have your number. And I don't necessarily think you need to only have 10 to compete. I mean, I think it would be
20 each is a great number.
I mean, I think that's a great number. I mean, you need to be able to have, I think, especially in this scenario, you need to be able to have your athletes that can showcase and knock the top guys out a little bit. Like maybe you get a classic example would be like a Travis Williams, where you know that if there is a high barbell, a high snatch volume, barbell cycling type of event, he's going to do great in it. He may not do as well in all the other events, but he's going to definitely switch the leaderboard up. And I think that's important to have that. So if you only have the 10, I mean, you don't really get that messed up if you have a bad event, So I think you need to make it a little bit more worth your while. But if you get the right people there, then you're right. I think that 9 event over 3 days, that's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, so let's get into this.
Okay.
What events that we just listed off, like do you say we got to have that one?
Hill sprint with the sandbags.
Yep.
Hill sprint with the sandbags has to be there.
That's got to be there.
That has got to be there.
Yeah.
And we were kind of talking about. I love that workout. We've talked at length with Pat Sherwood behind the scenes, because he actually did that at the games that year, and it was like one of the worst he's ever felt. That's almost one of the few ones where like it still doesn't need a modifier.
No.
Like it's almost like relatively hard. Like, yeah, they may be more fit and they may be able to push the pace, but they're still going to be feeling the same at the back end of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those ones that the harder it's like the old idea of CrossFit, it doesn't get easier because you can always go harder and faster as you get in better and better shape. So guess what? These guys are going to go really hard and fast in the beginning, and it's just going to jack them up on the second half. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, it's like running like a hydraulic. The harder you go, the harder it gets. And I think you're right. I don't think you need to change it. I really don't think you need to change it. Even though these guys are all running with rucks and all that kind of stuff. Now, I think that those 2 sandbags are going to mess people up. They're going to mess people up.
I think that one is iconic in a way. Is you ask anybody that was there that did that, and they'll all tell you that was the worst CrossFit event or workout they'd ever done. Mm-hmm. And it lasted to a minute to 90 seconds max.
That was the workout that made me regret my decision to skip the games that year and go to the beach. I saw highlights of it. I was like, I made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, there was some suffering there for sure.
I mean, for those of you guys that haven't seen any of the old footage of the CrossFit games, you have to go back and Google that stuff. It's all on there. I mean, that one's definitely great. The 2008 one, and I was talking with this Chase in our podcast. There's a 2008 CrossFit Games Highlights by Von Ware that's the name of the video. And for the old timers in the room here, it's set to POD,
Oh,
you know,
All right.
and it's like I probably watched that video honestly about 150 times. So it gives you like the true feeling of what it was. But you can go back there and you find those videos, and it's just, I mean, it's dirty, it's dusty. You see these people coming up the hill and Bambi legging like you have never seen good athletes Bambi leg before. And I would love to see the top dogs do that now, just to see what they could do.
It's got some historical significance too. You know, I think that was one of the ones where Annie started to like, she either won or finished second or something like that.
First CrossFit Games event win.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was kind of like, whoa, who is this pasty
This Iceland girl. That's what I kept calling it, the Iceland girl.
And look, and that goes back to, I think, like the show that they can put on here, you know, and leading into the history that if you do this event again, that you can queue up all that old footage going into it.
Oh, yeah.
There is going to be a
So much
stream,
good
and you
footage,
can show the history behind the event. And this is kind of Annie's emergence, even though she's not going to be at the games this year. But like that's the kind of stuff that I think that this competition lends itself to. That if done right, can be really special for the community. So yeah, that I would agree 100% that event has got to be in there. I also think you have to have. So we go from short to super long. I think you've got to do some sort of trail run again. Now, whether or not it's just we're just going to have you run, or we put rucksacks on you, or whatever. I think you got to do that trail run for a second time.
I would say the 4K that they did in 2007, but with a ruck. You know, like
okay,
because they did a 7K in 2009 and only like about an 800, I think, run in 2008. But dialed it back down, but then add that ruck in because. You know, they have retread that trail run 3 times already. And so, you know, they did a ruck run last year with adding weight. I think it's about the same distance as last year, but with that trail, I would like to see the trail run, but with an added ruck. It's kind of a new age version of what the trail run was.
See, my idea with that was I actually like the longer version of it. But I would say set it up more like a Spartan event where you have obstacles that you have to do as you go through. Yeah. Because, I mean, again, you will have a lot of people that have seen that run before, or at least something very, very similar to it. I mean, they're going to take it to the same basic hills. It's just a matter of if you do them twice or, you know, where the turnaround is going to be. But I think that if you were to run, and granted, there's logistical stuff that goes in that would be involved in setting up the obstacles. But I think that like having something like that where it is the same run, that definitely changes the elements and changes the race. And I think that would be super fun to watch because man, it's rugged terrain up there. It would be a wicked Spartan, and a lot of those Spartans are 3 to 5K or 3 to 5 miles anyway.
Would they have the room though to set some obstacles up to where you could have like 5 or 10, 10 people like approach at the same time and get over them?
Yeah. So this is where I was actually going to jump in because I think there's a combination of what both Bill and Chase said. You could do and kind of like walking through the layout. So you have one obvious station to do work and potentially add a bag would be, down at the ranch if you're running the road and stuff like that, or at so the ranch now at the end of the road, you could block it off. There's kind of like almost like a cul-de-sac now where you would turn right onto the highway to keep going. If you block that off, because you would be blocking through traffic anyways, you could put something there. There's a station technically at the ranch itself. Then if you run up the hill where Dave's shooting range is, if you follow up the right-hand side where the original loop used to be, at least there was up until recently. I don't know if he's changed it, but there's a rig up there.
Yeah.
So there is enough room for a full monster rig, easy with 20 lanes wide for people to get up there and wall balls, pull-ups, muscle-ups, whatever, have stuff set up there and can continue on running. So there's at least 3 to 4 stages where there's enough flat area or things to do where you could set up stuff. Maybe, maybe it's a more CrossFit style of a Spartan run where, you're doing rig type stuff.
Oh, totally.
From the main, I don't want to call it
it's up at the top of the hill and then a little farther.
Yeah,
so 250 meters maybe.
I would say probably close to 300, maybe 4. So
loops.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, what if you did, remember the track triplet?
Mm-hmm.
What if
Yeah.
you did something like that, where like every lap, you know, whatever that, where you decide a lap is, you come back and you do, you know, whatever it is.
Something.
A couple movements, and then you go back and
Or
you
take
run again.
the equipment with you.
Well, and they did that for the regional qualifier back in the day when all the regions had their own individual qualifier. They had an event which was, I mean, the idea was like, this is going to be the toughest qualifier ever. And it was the 30 deadlifts. And then you had to pick up 2 dumbbells and you had to run up the hill. You had to do thrusters at the top. And then I think there was actually a barbell up there and you had to do overhead squats or something like that too. So there were those kind of stations that were set up. So, I mean, something like that, or like what Sean was saying, where you do your loop and it, you know, after however long the loop is, if you have to do the loop 4 times, do something at the bottom, something at the top every single time. That would be pretty cool. I mean, you got your long and you have all your different, you know, little things you could throw in there. I think that would be super fun to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be good to have that on the same day as the hill sprint, but I think that would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to watch.
You know, from a coverage standpoint, it'd be tough to cover, but at least if you give them a station where they have to stop and do something, you have, like, you know, you're going to be able to tell who's in the lead. So you might not be able to follow all the way through the terrain.
Come on, man. We did Pendleton with earphones and cell phones.
Yeah,
Come on, man. Hey, we got someone coming up the hill. I don't know who it is. Someone's going down the hill. I missed who that person was.
Josh Everett, please mute your phone. You're breathing into it.
Oh my gosh.
For the Ranch Mini Chipper, they carry their wall ball up with them, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that's also a possibility.
Yeah, I like that.
It sounds weird. The only thing I was thinking about, like if you do a heavier ruck run, depending on where the heaviest section is, when you add, you might have to do the heaviest part on the flats and do like the lighter runs up top. Because coming down that hill, depending on how well they have it paved, with like a, I don't know, 60 to 80 pound ruck bag, will get a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and that, I mean, and that's. I have no problem like load people up going up the hills, but the worst thing you can do, especially maybe these guys, and they're great athletes, but the last thing you want to do is put their body in a funky jeopardy, and that's all knees going down. I mean, I know we used to do a lot of stuff with fire. We'd go up with big water bags on the way up, and then you can drain it on the way down so you don't blow your knees out for when you actually have to use them. You know, for your firefighting when you're up and down hills all day long.
Well, I mean, look how they came down the hill in 2008.
Yeah, but that was no pack.
Trusting gravity.
They'll definitely be sliding on their stomachs, you know, and penguining down the hill if they do it that way.
So let's say then our second, and this is not the order. We're just picking the events that we're in. So after that, we're going to do some sort of trail run. Let's say 4K with some kind of work in between.
Some sort of mixed
modality.
Okay.
All right. So that's number 2. So I don't know. I think that you after this, you maybe go look at do we need a strength event? Do we need like a 1 rep max thing? And I think maybe you combine the snatch maybe with the deadlift ladder and do a ladder.
Right here. Snatch.
All right. We didn't share any notes before this. So yeah, I would love to see a snatch ladder in place of a deadlift ladder.
Well, here's the crazy thing about the deadlift ladder is that in 2009, there were 10-pound jumps for the deadlifts. So they did so many bars. I mean, do the same thing with the snatch. So yes.
Ooh. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. And maybe you do it in the same, like maybe you treat it the same as whoever finishes first on our long little ruck run there or our mixed modality trail run gets to go last in the snatch ladder, and you do it right after. So you kind of keep with the spirit of what happened in 2009, but you change it up a little bit.
And that would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Pulling heavy weight is cool, and you're just like, wow. But there's a lot of context lost in that. I mean, did you guys see Hafthor deadlift 101 kilos?
Yes, I did.
Like, I was screaming at the TV and getting goosebumps watching that. But the problem is, like, I think people that don't know it had no context of the enormity of what was actually happening. So I think a snatch ladder, even though you might not understand how heavy that is, visually looks really cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, these guys are like literally these athletes are pulling themselves down underneath that bar. And these athletes are going to have a lot of weight on the bar. It's not like it's going to be 75 pounds. It's going to be a lot more than that. So you're right. I think that would be real dramatic. And I mean, remember what we had 2 years ago No, last year at the games when they had the first qualifier, you had everyone doing the runs and everything, and all of a sudden 185 looked heavy, and we had these great athletes that were missing lifts that you're thinking, whoa, why are they missing on the snatch? So I think that this would definitely change it up and do it the same way. If you're last in the run, you're first on the snatch ladder, and you go that way.
I think that'd be great. I think
Setup.
you do back to back.
It'd be 2012 regionals when we had the snatch ladder, but
Yep.
that year they had the double unders in
The
between.
double unders, yeah.
And that like that brought a lot of people to their knees once they got past that kind of first row of barbell.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 events so far. So just to recap where we're at, we have the 170-meter hill sprint. We're not going to change that with the sandbags. We have the trail run with mixed modalities, whatever those are going to be. And
Smash 2 together.
Yeah, and then we smashed the deadlift ladder and the 1 rep max snatch together. Now we're going to have a snatch ladder. So that would be, I mean, I don't know if you want to do that all in one day. Maybe you want to mix that up. We'll decide on order.
Yeah, that can't happen.
Once we get all our events down.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So
mix and match.
where else do we? Where do you want to go next?
I have to say, because I tried it when I saw it happen, it was fun to watch. It was fun to talk to Tanya about this one. And I believe if I remember correct, when we were talking about this, I think this is one of the first ones that like Chase did, the 3 rounds for time of the 30 wall balls and the 30 squat snatch. But I think it needs to be the 30 and the 20 on the. So I think it needs to be the heavier wall ball, and I don't think we could go the 75-45. I think we need to come up from that. But I love that setup though. What's that?
Chase?
Same weight on the. So you're upping the weight for the wall ball, which I'm cool with. But even leaving it light forces the issue a little bit more. But use
95. Would you go 95-65?
No. Use a dumbbell.
Oh,
dumbbell hang squat snatches.
I think that's easier.
Really? Why is that? Why is that?
Because if you have good enough mobility, you can bounce yourself down. These guys are good athletes though, man. They're not going to have bad. These are not the masters. Come on now. These are the masters athletes that are trying to get under that. I think if they're doing the other one, if they have to go off the ground, you're right. If it's lighter, they're going to go faster. But I think the 95-65, that's still a ton of reps. And these guys, they're going to go unbroken with them.
Have the snatch ladder. So I didn't want to do 2 bar snatches and just kind of change the modality a little bit. I hear you.
So could you I remember doing this workout and just lighting my back up because the low back just got. It actually knocked Kyle Kasperbauer, who was in a podium position at the time, I think, out of the competition because he got work requirement.
Yeah.
Could you maybe swap? So we do another Frankenwad and the squat clean grace finale effectively for the top guys turned into squat clean thrusters.
Yes.
Right.
Could you just plug those into those 30 into maybe make it, I think
that slows it down too much. I think with the snatch, it's lightweight. And the reason everyone's backs were being lit up is because everyone was trying to save their legs. And so they were doing bent over pulls from the ground, trying to do that. I mean, their back is under tension on the wall balls, but I think that's what was happening. If you watch all the videos of everyone doing it, it wasn't like it was clean, movement. It was, I got to save my legs because I'm not doing 90, I'm doing 180 squats.
Yeah.
So I need to somehow save. I don't want to add an extra partial squat on the pull either. What's that?
I'm sorry, Tommy, did you mean with like a lighter weight?
With a lighter weight, yeah. You go like 95-65.
Hang clusters
or something like that. You can even go from the ground because like 95 at that point, because Bill brings up a good point. I would want to find a weight where they're going to drop the bar directly from the top, either to the ground with high hips, with that modified pull from the ground, and then basically kind of do that like snake cluster pull under that like Travis Williams does.
Right. Totally.
You want this is, you move it to a weight where you're still getting a barbell movement. You don't interfere with another 2 squat snatch barbell movements, but you force that like threshold line a little bit and put people in some funky places. Cause God, after that final round of wall balls, I remember staring at the 30 squat snatches as being like, I can do these, but I don't want to because my body just feels just twisted up right now.
I think the thing I would be a little, I like the concept, but a cluster to me is just another wall ball shot. So I think that movement would kind of, now redundancy isn't a bad thing. I mean, you have JT, push-ups, ring dips, and handstand.
Right.
So maybe it would be a good wrinkle in that event. But I think that or some modification of that event has to be in there, because that event was so simple to see on paper. And then when you got into round 2, you're like,
oh my God. Yeah. that was,
no.
Yeah. And that was one of those ones where it was the first time where you saw people get lulled into a very dangerous place. And it happened to everyone across the board. Like, back then, no one really understood the idea of pacing, really. I mean, that wasn't necessarily a thing yet. It was still Pukey the Clown, to the hilt. So when you see that, you're like, oh, 30 wall balls? Oh, I can do those unbroken. Squat 75 and 45, please. Do you know who I am? Like, all these athletes, everyone's got their machismo going and the bravado going, and they're ready to hit it. And they all did. They knew that they couldn't not go unbroken. And so I want to keep that, because I think that that's important, because it's the whole who's going to hang in, who can hold on to this thing the longest. Like, that's what it turns into.
Could you do something that, and I'm just throwing this out there, because I think about that regional event that we had in, I think it was 2018, where the weight actually got lighter. So like if you did the first 3 rounds of power snatch at 115, and then and then the last 3 rounds, you went squat snatch at 75 pounds. So you made the movement more complex, but you lighten the load. So it's like, oh, I know you're tired, but now it's lighter. Now you can step on the gas a little bit.
Like a 115, 95, 75.
Something like that. Just to where
hey, Tommy, you remember in Dubai where they changed the snatch positions?
Oh, yeah.
Hang, squat, snatch, full snatch.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Loads like that. Because imagine someone trying to do 30
progression
snatches with 75 at the end of that. Because when you look at it, like Bill said, it was a good trap event because it read so easy on paper. In fact, I would say don't even change the weight of the wall ball. Just make them think that's easy.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then if you're gonna toy with the weights on the snatch and move it into basically a snatch progression style, then keep the wall ball weight as a trap.
Yeah.
And,
30, big deal. I'm like,
so you're saying the 115 for power snatch. You're saying the 95 for
maybe hang power, hang snatch, hang full snatch. So basically
hang full, and then 75 would be a full.
Yeah.
Because
they could do the 115. They would be able to do the 115 for 30 unbroken. And that, I think that's what, or at least be really close. Yeah. That would be, I think that's what's important, is you have to have the movement or the number. Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be like, okay, because if you can get 25, you're going to get 30 in a race. And that's what you want. You want them just come here. Come and take a couple more steps. Come here and take a couple steps. Come here, Travis Williams. Man, we've talked about that guy how many times already?
5 pounds. Couldn't be simpler, Tommy. Yeah. Well, you're there. You might as well do them.
Totally.
Cash is sitting in a van with some candy.
Yeah. Come here, little boy.
He's got the worst visual.
Oh man.
It's funny.
I would be cool with those numbers for that setup for that.
So we would drop
the
weight, but increase the complexity of the movement.
Yeah. The complexity would go up as the weights go down.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny. What was that workout that has 30 squat cleans in it? I think, and 30 something else in a pull up and a run. Is it Badger?
Oh,
if that workout felt like Badger, it's like that's similar. Like the first 30 squat cleans at 115 or whatever, you're like, oh, I got this. And then the second round, you get the gut check.
So bad. Yes, that whatever event we want to modify for that one for sure needs to be in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to do 3 rounds for time. Are we increasing the wall ball weight? We're not.
I think
I say yes. I say yes. I think for these guys, because
not that
20 to them, 30 to them is not a big deal, but it's enough to make it
All right. So we'll increase the
add
wall
that
ball
little
weight
icing of
30 to
shittiness
20.
on top of it.
Yeah, 30 to 20. And then we're gonna go power snatch, full power snatch, right?
Or just power snatch.
Power.
Snatch 15, 30.
Hang squat,
Hang squat at 95.
full squat.
Full squat at 75.
God, I can't wait for the gym to open. I'm programming that because I image some people.
That is a good one. Okay.
I like that.
So I don't know, where do you guys want to go next? Because I think there's something interesting to me, and I don't know if we want to do it again or not, of that row, pound the steak row.
Sean, it's like we were sharing notes before.
And we didn't, which is cool.
But here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that, but have Rogue develop some implement with the sledgehammer and some type of drive to keep it even across the board. Because a big problem in 2009 was that, the ground wasn't even. Stakes were left in after multiple heats, and it just got a little too crazy. But I would love to see either of them bring the hammer sleds.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
In lieu of a hammer, or develop some type of standard sledge.
Well, hey, if we're gonna do the hammer sled, we have to come up with some standards. We're not doing the hammer pull,
drag,
sled pull of the drag or whatever.
I like leaving it up to Rogue's ingenuity to put that in, because in 2009 you had people like hitting like, what did I just hit with this steak? And it's Dave Castro's great grandmother buried in a
Okay. What about this one? What about this one? So check this out. What if we do, instead of the 500-meter row, you hit the stake in 500-meter row? What if you had some sort? Now, I know we just said we were going to do the run, but I'm just throwing out here for this one event. You have your sledgehammer, you have your stake. You have to run to an area, up a hill, around the bend, whatever. And on the rig, there is a setup that has this would be something that Rogue would have to do. They'd have like a sleeve with a rubber in it. Maybe it's a foot long, whatever. So that when you put the stake in it, you clamp down on the sleeve. So now you have a specific tension on that. And that's what you have to bang all the way through. So it's kind of raised up, or you're up on a platform or whatever. So you bang it down all the way. Then you can run down or run back to the finish line and finish it that way. That way you just kind of unclick the thing. Stakes come out. You don't have to worry about, if you're hitting it. Now it will take this out. Tink, 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 because you'll be able to put it in there, and then you can kind of hit it. But I like the idea. This was the first time, and me and Chase talked about this too earlier. This was the first event where it was the way they prefaced it. The way Coach Glassman prefaced it was, I'm going to give you an event that no one has trained for before. This is something that you've never done in your gym. And so I remember thinking back then, like my mind was going crazy about what kind of cool thing it's going to be. So I love the idea of what it is. And I think that having something like that is important, because everybody now has an assault runner and a echo bike and a ski erg and a this and it. Like everyone has all that stuff, but pretty sure no one, how many CrossFit gyms have tires that have never been touched and never been flipped, and sledgehammers that just sit there collecting dust? And it'd be awesome to pull that out.
Yeah. I like the stake drive just because, and I think that the beam would be an option, but a lot of those athletes have done that before. And, you can do the hammer and drag.
Yeah.
You can't drag a stake into the ground. You got to pound that sucker.
Yeah. Yeah, leave it to Rogue. Maybe that's your new Rogue element, because they do it every year, minus last year, is that they would figure this out in a very fun way visually, is to just set up some type of uniform stake drive implement. And I would like to see, because, I like Bill's idea in terms of running around, but just to kind of keep it more of an homage to what they did, because it was the first time it was something never even conceived of as being an event. To have some of that history back in it, but now some uniformity across the board. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Agreed. Would you, just throwing this out there, would you throw an assault bike in there?
I'm saving it.
Oh, okay. All right, good. All right. So we're gonna do the row, drive, something, and row.
Okay.
But not dragging, not hammer and pull it. We're gonna
Not
actually
hammer and pull.
because you gotta be accurate and hit this thing the right way.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that's the next one. Man, where do we want to go from here?
See, okay, so I like the 30 clean and jerks, the 30 squat clean and jerks one, the 155. Now, I think that, and I haven't seen anything like this yet. I've seen it done, but I think that like a heavy grace, a heavy clean and jerk, or a heavy cluster grace at 225 would be good. 225, was that 225, 155?
Yeah.
That's burly.
Well, it's burly, but like we have Rich Froning that's done that.
Yeah.
I mean, like almost 10 years ago, in like 4-ish minutes. So between 4 or 5 minutes. So yeah. So I think throwing the barbell around like that is good. It's high volume, but it's heavyweight. So it isn't just the super lightweight 135. These guys are whipping around. Everyone will be great until 18. And then all of a sudden it gets really interesting at that point. And I think that's
look really
fun.
cool too if you did it out there on the the for lack of a better term, the deck, because you could have people like every 5 reps you advance. You could have all the barbells out there.
Really cool. Yes.
Yeah,
That could be a part of a 2-parter too.
Yeah.
Like similar to how Grace was programmed at the end of 2014.
Yeah.
You for thick and quick and Grace, you do something and then you do heavy, the heavy at 225.
Here's an idea too. You could leave like DT, you could leave this one up to the fans. You could give them 2 options. Like, do you want to do, Bill's version or a different version where it's like longer? I don't know. You do 60 at a certain weight, or you do 30 at 225, or you do 60 at 155, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You could have it as the classic as it was originally. So squat, clean, and jerks at those weights, or any weight overhead with 225 and 155.
Mm-hmm.
Or both. Maybe that is your 2-parter.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh.
See, it's easy to say into a microphone because I am not going to be doing
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So we want these to be. So I think that you could do a cool fan vote here. You could do the original version at 30 squat clean and jerks at 155.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you guys want to see them do
just heavy grace?
30 ground overhead?
Basically, yeah.
I say the heavy.
Everybody's going to say 225 and 155.
What?
So
Everyone's
then
a heavy one.
They're like, oh,
okay, well then don't give them the choice, and then just say the 30. Say 30 squat clean and jerks at 225.
Sometimes you got to feign the illusion of choice, right?
I think
you
they
know?
gotta do
you want the red shirt or the blue shirt?
Well, because you have
I don't care which one you
home
pick.
watching.
I picked them both for you.
You have no one watching in person. I think you have to do some sort of fan engagement. There's got to be some sort of vote.
You know what? That's a great idea.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
So I don't know what be a more appealing option between the two, but I know like double DT, they did end up doing, and everyone knew they're going to do heavy DT, but they did what they do double DT the next year.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like, all right, well, we didn't do it last year, so we're doing it this year. But maybe I don't know if you make the lighter version longer, or so you give them that option. You do long, you can call it 2008, or you can do heavy 2008. You can you can do 50 at 155, or you can do 30 at 225. What do you guys want to see?
You know what? I like that.
Yep.
I like that. Increase the number at the 155 or go 30
there's a
at
little
225.
bit like you're going to go long, you're going to go long, medium, or you're going to go short and heavy.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be cool to test the rep, like when they test these out to just make sure, is pick a weight and rep scheme for at least the heavy one. And then if you're going to increase the lighter one, that they actually come out to be almost the exact same time.
At the same time, yeah.
Right.
That would be cool.
Well, and I think that's what you would want it to be anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be somewhere in that realm, because I mean, if you're looking at your top athletes doing 30 clean and jerks at 225, and you're figuring like the 5-ish minute range, just to put it out there, these guys were doing 30 squat clean and jerks back in the day at 155 in 3 to 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in the day.
Was Kalipa 245 or
240?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sub 3.
Yeah.
I think
I mean, he made up all of his time on that one event. You know.
What did Katie do, Chase?
I think Katie won that that event in 2008, and I think it was 3:30 was her time.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, if you were to go at 50, I think that's just like we were talking, and I agree with you, Chase. It shouldn't matter which one the crowd picks. The time frame should be about the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you would be right in that realm if you made whatever it was a 10-minute time cap. And just go like that and leave it. They get to choose.
I like that, and I really like the fan engagement concept too a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we did 50 at 155 or 30 at 225,
Yeah.
do they have? And they don't all have to be squat cleans, or do they?
No, not with the heavy ones.
225 is just ground overhead,
Well, I mean, let's see.
and then 155 is squat clean and jerk.
I think we can look at it once we have them all fleshed out and see how many times we've gone below parallel.
Okay.
Just to keep some balance there.
So that'll be our fan vote event. So we're going to have some sort of barbell rep. You're either going to go a little, maybe, I don't know if longer is the right word, but you might work a little longer for a lighter weight, or you're going to go shorter with a heavier weight. Cool. Okay.
Yep.
Like that.
Poor bastard.
Yeah. Hey, it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be a test. It's not a showcase.
I know. And Dave even said on his live stream that if it actually happens, he thinks it's going to be the hardest.
Yeah. How many? We have 6 events now?
1, 2,
Dude, Dave says that all the time.
He does.
Every single year. This will be the worst CrossFit Games, the hardest, the most demanding on your body ever. He has to say that.
Yeah.
He has to say that.
Usually he's right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think it's super. I honestly, I don't know if I would look across and I would say, well, every single year it's gotten completely worse on that. I think that the competition has gotten better. I like the programming as it's gone. I think the programming has gotten better and better and better every year. But I wouldn't necessarily say that like, oh, you're gonna die this year. Oh, you're back. Oh, you're gonna die this year.
Right. All right. So we have 6 events. We need 3 more.
I would like to throw out the 8-minute AMRAP of the parallel handstand push-ups, heavy swings, and GHD sit-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When is 2011 the last time we saw kettlebell swings at the games?
2000.
Yeah.
Swings.
Did they have high pulls?
Yeah, they had high pulls.
Okay. High pulls in the final, but swings in 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
at regionals in 2011.
Yeah.
And then realized that they probably shouldn't put that ever again.
Because there were probably almost more fights than ever on a CrossFit floor.
I was at the Mid-Atlantic Regional where they had to clear the gym because they had to clear the venue because people started rioting and Jeff Tincher got
because it was I'm guessing the standard, right? Like
because I can't remember his name. He was one of the original 2-poot guys.
Yeah.
He got like 60 no reps on the kettlebell swing, and he was just like, I don't know what's happening. His hands got shredded. What?
Oh, that was
legitimately 60 no reps.
AJ something. AJ.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then so basically his hands were so shredded at the end, his judge asked him to sign the card, and he shook it off because he couldn't physically hold the pen. And then the crowd saw that and started rioting and throwing stuff and like lobbing insults at the judge. The judge like started crying and ran off. Jeff Tincher got on the mic and told everyone to shut the F up. And like people waited outside in the parking lot to follow, to like get like you and me in the parking lot, shooter.
CrossFit.
Like,
it's all about that community.
Yeah. Oh man.
That region went right before mine in 2011, and we had the same event director. During that hundreds event with the kettlebell swings, I had to do something crazy just to not get cut. And I knew, and people were just still getting no reps over and over and over. They showed us a picture in the athlete briefing. They're like, this is a good rep. This is a no rep. And we're like, what? And you guys, it was like a degree of difference, and as if that were clear. So when I was doing my kettlebell swings, every time he walked over to me, I would put my kettlebell down and just look at him. and I wouldn't start swinging until he left. And that's how I navigated that entire event.
All right.
Getting second.
You were always one of the smarter competitors, Chase. I'll give you that.
Move, event director.
Yeah.
Kettlebell swing, he was watching me. I just sat there. I didn't care how long it would take.
I remember Armin McCormick. He was from CrossFit Kilo. He's the owner there. And this was back when he was a games athlete back in the day, and he was always super fiery anyway. And I thought for sure, I remember I was running around doing announcing there, and they were videoing things, and that was back when we didn't really know what we were doing, like broadcast wise at all. And I had to go over. I had to be like, "Hey, we need the security over here," because I mean, he was getting in Armin's. I mean, he's this military cat, and he was a wrestler from Northern Iowa, and like he would have wrecked this judge up bad. And the judge was, I mean, holding ground, but it was no rep, no rep, no rep, no rep, no rep. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. You better go running high.
Kettlebell swings in the games. Like, do we want to risk that again? Or
I was gonna say, Armand was he was the driver in Tosh's truck vehicle when the whole Tosh Ryan Shontosh situation happened.
I didn't know that. I never heard that. That's badass.
He was the Humvee.
That's badass.
The Humvee, yeah.
Imagine just.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, it's really weird because like Tosh is such a happy guy and Armin is just not. Every time I see him, he always seems so pissed off.
I remember seeing
but the dude's a stud, man.
Yeah.
Stud.
Oh yeah.
Beast.
Sean, to your point, I think you can put him back in the games now, especially because the kettlebell swings were heavy. They were 70 and 53. So that's going to slow a lot of people down.
Okay.
Have at least some sense of a grayer area at the top of the rep. Or do the old school ear past the arm BS that they used to make you do when you locked out push jerks.
Even that bigger bell, like once it gets upside down, it's just easier to see, right? When you have these little bells that you're flinging, like people are rolling their wrists and stuff like that. And you're like, did that hit vertical or not?
Or throw a strip at.
I was going to say, what if you use the strip, like the burpee thing? Remember they had to touch in Chaos? What if you got to hit that?
It's touching Matt Fraser's bell and Brent Fikowski's elbow. But
as long as you're getting the vertical, yeah. That could be a way you mitigate that. But yeah, I do like that event, and I think it should be back.
What I think would be cool to see is that on the women's side, now let them move their parallettes because they weren't allowed to do that in 2000.
Yeah, because they were pre-cut.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chris Clever crushed everybody with like 53?
Yeah.
Reps?
Yeah, it smashed the field.
So it would be nice to see how much it's evolved, especially on the women's side with that difficulty.
So would you keep the deficit the same? Do you change the deficit? Okay.
Yeah. I think this is one of those events where, to Chase's point, you can be like, look how far we've come.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of like performance.
Right.
It doesn't need to be spiced up because when you start putting an 8-minute time frame on a 4, 8, and 12 rep scheme event, they are going to go so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be a massive mistake, which I can't wait to watch.
Well, and that's me and Chase, we talk about that a lot on the show. It's like you can dictate how bad it's going to be for these athletes simply by the time frame that they have. I mean, 4, 8, and 12, you're like, oh, okay, that's not even that many. I can do only 8 minutes. Sucker.
Yeah.
You just got suckered in right there. Like now you're in. And that'll be a good one.
Transitions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. And maybe I'd like for that. This is what they did for Mary, right? They had a judge move the piece for them, right? Or did they move the piece?
Well, they had different sections in Mary. And
so it was like the first 10 you were doing at one end of the floor, and then the next 10 you did at the other. Yeah.
Right.
I think there could be a way where you have some sort of visual element so they don't have to worry about moving the piece.
I would like that.
And that way everyone watching from home can see it from some sort of aerial or wide shot just to check into, just to make sure that while they're spinning their wheels so damn fast, you don't lose track.
Well, yeah, you want to be able to see that horse race for sure.
So that's our 7th event, just a repeat. Not going to mess with it at all. Okay. I mean, I know what I want the last event to be.
Okay. Is it the final chipper?
Yeah.
Okay. So do we want to do 8 and then maybe assume that we'll keep that as the final event?
That's fine, because I just love, and the reason is the way it ends, I think, is a fantastic event. for like you're going to get to the winner. Like it's just that
Yeah.
march to the end, and it'll be set up much differently than it was in 2009. I mean, with the way that the
Yeah.
competition floors have evolved to kind of show the race, I think that's just a great way to end it.
I think isn't one of your favorite finales is the Cinco's when Rich was lunging?
Oh yeah, 'cause
Marching down.
and it was the same thing at regionals. Was it the year prior? Or maybe it was the same year. They did the front. It was the front rack
walking line.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
that was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
2013. But anytime you had that just kind of slow march to the finish,
Just a
where you
gut
can
check.
build that. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
That wasn't even the finale that year too for regionals.
yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, that was the one right prior. But yeah, oof.
But
Yeah, I
definitely
like that as a final. I like that as a
And
final.
we don't even need to we don't even need to mess with the 30 double unders. Maybe you throw in like a heavy rope.
You
or
throw the
something.
Zeus rope in there.
That's where I put in bring the cow bike in as a monostructure.
Oh, that's
what I was saving it for because I hate the double unders, Zeus rope or not. You
Okay.
put the cow bike.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for 30 double.
Yeah.
movement.
I like that.
Set up. And then enjoy your lunges, sir.
Okay, so that'll be. I think I want that to be the last event.
Okay.
So we have 8. We just need one more now to throw in there, and I don't know who's attached to what here, but
Why don't we make another hopper workout that we don't know what's going to come
love it. Yes, I think you need to absolutely do that.
and make that the first event, just like the very first.
I
event
think that's brilliant. Yeah.
Just do another, not the same one, another one. So, because Dave teased, should we bring it back?
Yeah.
Yes, you should, to start the games in Aromas once again, and that will be your first event of the CrossFit Games in 2020.
Love it.
But I almost think that if you do it that way, it would have to be on its own that day, logistic-wise, unless you know exactly what you're going to be pulling out of there. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to logistically,
you can give the illusion of choice.
You do
you could.
like a
NBA draft. Oh, this one's bent.
you do it.
Let me reach in and get a.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all red ones. Excellent, because I wanted it to be this one.
Do it like 2010 games where they only had Amanda on the Friday night, the night before.
Yep.
So everybody checked in and then loaded up for Amanda for what was a surprise event at the time.
Could you do like a predetermined time frame? Like this is going to be a 20 minutes of something.
I think they can make different variations of rounds, reps, or even AMRAPs to put in there. But I think it would be really funny if they just put a random collection of colored balls and Dave just made up the workout.
Oh, and this one is, I already
seminars-
knew. Oh, and this one is,
Yeah.
I already
we
knew.
do, at seminars, when we would do the programming lecture, we would try to let the class pick the final workout of the week, right? You'd give them 6 and they were supposed to come up with 7. But up at the chalkboard, you're like, so you guys want to do row or run? And they're like, run. I'm like, all right, cool, row. And then, you just kind of made the workout for them, but it kind of gave them the illusion that they were actually helping. I think that's the same thing.
No, I 100 that we got to bring the hopper back somehow. But to Bill's point of, if you're going to then put them into a 7K trail run, you better make sure that this is an hour-long workout.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Or
good
maybe you do,
Well, whatever. I mean, that's the hopper model to begin with.
Right.
If there's 5K weird runs in there, it wouldn't be the best test, but, and I like Tommy's idea is like, how about you make that the first event on Friday and then you put 4 and 4 or 5 and 3 in the next 2 days.
They could do that. They could do that. I mean, they're used to doing 5 and 6 anyway. I mean, they're used to doing so many events. So, now with the other events that we have in there, yes, I think we need to use or at least put the things in the hopper, or like you said, slight the hopper just a little bit so that we make sure that we're even across the board. Because what we're missing a lot of right now, I think, is a lot of gymnastic stuff.
Yeah,
we have some handstand push-ups, cool, but there's a lot of other things we don't have in there.
Unless you were going to include those in that the trail
obstacle
we came up with.
True.
Right.
Oh,
True.
yes.
Have some sort of
That would actually be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you do a handstand walk.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You could really throw in some cool stuff in that run.
Mm.
That just jack people up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shoot, maybe if you put that run on Sunday morning, you basically make it so, all right, we have this select of options for the balls that we're going to use for because they're obviously going to be movements we haven't used. And then whatever doesn't get pulled from the hopper, that gets sprinkled into the run as the Spartan elements mixed in.
That's a really
so
good
if we
idea.
don't use handstand walk, this portion right here is going to be handstand walk. If we don't use pull-ups here,
that looped. So
right,
you kind of come to the base, They give you. What if they did it on the fly too? First person in.
Picks.
30
You,
hands.
you mean like normal CrossFit? You mean
I really
we
like
have a rough schedule that will
The
go.
only reason I don't think that they would do that is because knowing now the way that they need to make it television friendly, you would need to know what you're kind of getting into before that.
Just
But
take what you didn't use and put them in there.
yeah, as long as you had a little heads up.
So all of these movements are going to be used throughout the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Just the order is going to be adjusted a little bit.
I think
So
having
there's still
Okay.
Chase, do you have your list?
Yes.
Do you have your checklist?
Oh no, I don't.
The get with the programming checklist, the level 2 programming
Well, we can
checklist.
do that once we start ordering the events. If you guys wanted to.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, so let's order these things up.
Okay.
All right. So we have 9 that we've modified. Some we've modified. Some we've left the same.
I still think we should start. I like the idea, Tommy, of trying to get everything in at the end, but I think that the best place to put the hoppers in the beginning.
I do
front,
too.
yeah.
I think that's the perfect.
Oh
I
yeah.
said it repeatedly. Perfect way to lean into the history that we're celebrating here. Here's the hopper in the original one. Like, we're not going to pretty it up. We're just going to do it in the warehouse there. We're going to pick the workout. We'll even write it on a whiteboard. Old school.
Yes.
And
Wow. Totally.
go do it.
So make that a Friday standalone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to do 5 events on Saturday and 3 on Sunday? Because that would kind of dictate which ones we put there.
Well, and here's the other thing we haven't even talked about is, like, if we start with 20, if you cut down to 10 for Sunday, are we just going to say, let's just go 20 the whole way?
No,
I think you should keep them
keep
too.
'em.
I
Keep
agree.
'em.
And crush them.
No, I agree. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think if you do make Saturday just a burly day and then Sunday is your sprint to the finish. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the thing is too, from a logistical standpoint, if you do the hopper workout first,
Mm-hmm.
you can decide it. You can have a little break to set it up, and then you can do it.
Yeah.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do, and I don't know if there's a way you could do like a nighttime event out there. If they have lights, they could bring in lights. That might be kind of cool to do a nighttime event.
Yeah.
In lights, they did that in 2009. They actually had to bring them in because the day went surprise longer than they had planned. Connie was telling us that they actually brought lights in to light up the grounds.
We're gonna start another podcast called "Get with the Schedule."
What if on the last day we know we want the final to be the final. We have that. Talking to Tanya and talking to some other athletes that did the hill sprint, that smashed them for everything else. So I think we should have the hill sprint on the last day as well. Because I'd rather put that at the end. So what we do is we go 30. The crowd's choice of the event, so the 30 or the 50, the sprint, and then the hill sprint with sandbags, and then the final on the last day.
So crowd choice first event Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to kick it off.
Okay.
So then we have the other ones in between that mix up on the next day.
You're going to want to introduce that and give them time to vote, right?
Right. So we introduce that on the Friday, let everyone vote on it so that on the last day, that's the first event on the last day.
All right. I like that.
Now, what's left there? I know we got all the squats of the wall balls and the other things. And we have the long run.
That makes Saturday
We have
nasty.
So we can mix
snatches.
We have the snatch ladder.
Snatch ladder and the run, because that's back to back.
Yeah,
the run and then the snatch ladder, whatever the run's going to be.
Oh, so then you have the gymnastic one. You got the 8-minute one, and then you got the 3-round of wall ball one. That's what we have left, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So first,
I don't think that's
Saturday
that bad.
Run because it'll be cooler.
Yeah.
In the morning.
Right into the snatch ladder.
Yep.
Run, snatch.
So this is Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Then do the 8-minute AMRAP.
Like that.
And then finish it with the 3 rounds of the 30 and 30.
You have the pound and the steak pounder.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we got the row and the.
How do we forget that one? That's the one that we wanted.
Maybe make that the final day, one on Saturday.
I think that's the last one on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the last one on Saturday night because that's going to be
cool
a good
to
race.
like at one of those Saturday night.
Yeah. And then you could have, because you're going to have to get off the rower and you're going to have to sprint to some sort of finish line.
Which is more fun. Nobody wants to see that death squad of 30 and 30 to end Saturday. That's no fun.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Okay.
All right.
Well, okay. Is that 5 events on that day?
Yes.
Yeah.
What if we move the 8-minute AMRAP to the last day? So the last day has the 30 or the 50 clean and jerk or squat clean and jerks, the 8-minute AMRAP, this hill sprint, and then the final. Because it's only 8 minutes. Like, that's not that bad. I mean, it'll not that it won't be hard, but I don't think it will crush anyone. But that Saturday is going to be a lot of stuff.
What if you put 2 events on Friday? You went 2, 4, 3.
Well, I'm okay with that. We just don't know what the hopper is going to be. I mean, if the hopper ends up being like a 30-second sprint, well, then absolutely. You know,
if we were going to add anything on top of that, like if we were going to add another event to Friday, what I would actually do, and this kind of breaks this mold here, is I would take them out to a swim on Friday.
That's true. We don't have a swim, which I'm bummed about. That's that is a downer on this.
Hard to pull off.
And it'd be like the old school, dude. I know a couple I know some public, some beaches off the side of the hills of Watsonville you can get into. Talk to a couple of my primos. We'll be all right.
That's awesome.
Just post a lookout on the hill.
It'll just be them and a bunch of Vietnamese fishermen just staring at these fit people. In the ocean.
Okay, so yeah, all right. We'll do one event Friday. It'll be the hopper.
Yeah, I think keeping that pure solo event, because that'll bring in so many people to watch that, learn the history of the games, how it all started back in Rome.
And the good thing is too is that you're not, Friday is usually a day that I don't want to say fewer people watch, but just if we were kind of somewhat back to normal, there might be some people working. They might not have an opportunity to watch. You can certainly maximize your viewership over the weekend.
Totally.
And that way you're not.
Well, and you're not really talking about the race at that point. It's event number 1. So we get to talk about the whole celebration of the whole competition. That would definitely be something to talk about.
I like that. Okay, so Hopper's on Friday.
Yep.
And then we move to Saturday, and we're going to start with our mixed modality trail run right into the snatch ladder.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do what was the one after that? We're going to do the
so we have the 30, it would be the
30 and then the stakes. We can do the 30 and then we do the stake event.
Yeah.
So you're right. Okay. So the 30 with the descending weight but increased complexity.
And that'll end up being like towards the middle of the day, just for lack of a better term, just a dick dragger, right?
And then we do the fun
steak.
The fun steak row steak row.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a steak on a Saturday night?
Well, that's what I'm saying, because didn't Dave already tease that he's going to feed the crew with those some fresh steaks from the ranch. So there you go. Then you have your barbecue that night. And then you move into Sunday.
Awesome. And then you got
Sunday. We're going to throttle some people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Sunday we'll start that
crowd choice.
Morning, the crowd choice. Then the
hill sprint.
Then the hill sprint.
Yeah.
And then the final chipper.
And we said the 8-minute AMRAP.
Oh, the 8 minute. The 8 minutes. Yeah.
The 8-minute AMRAP, then the final chipper.
Yeah.
Do you want? Oh. Gosh.
And the final chipper has the assault bike instead of the 30 double unders. We're going to get rid of that because that's just not even.
So much better.
Yeah.
I'm so much happier.
You're just wasting ink with that, All right.
There's actually a lot of good balance in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. I think if you make sure that on that trail run, based off what comes out in the hopper, make sure we get more gymnastics on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I mean, I think there's an easy way. Like, it wouldn't require a whole bunch of setup because you already have the rig in 2 places. If it's still up at the shooting range, you have the one down by the warehouse where you could do pull-ups or you could do bar muscle-ups or whatever it is.
Pull-ups, bar muscle-ups, handstand push-ups, sometimes
toes bar. You can do the whole
walk, toes bar. Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe don't get cute with a pack. Just run hard and be good at CrossFit.
That's what I'm saying. Make it like the track triplet. Maybe, just do a bigger track triplet. 1 lap.
Yeah.
And then you do bar muscle-ups and then you do, I don't want to say snatches because we're doing enough snatches, but something else. And then you run another lap and then you do the same thing. And then you run a 3rd lap and then.
Because honestly, during especially even, and this is more from a Spartan race perspective, when you stop to do those other movements and you get back to running, you're like, oh, I got a little win back. So let's keep this run snappy.
Yeah.
especially on like the road sections.
Sometimes we get in a rut of like, it's the games, we got to go hard and we got to go crazy. It's like, man,
no, don't make it too complex.
The thing about workouts these days is like the intensity is ramped up to another degree that we're maybe not used to or got away from.
Yeah.
So short loops, throw in whatever movements that are left out there. And I would say just based off that, making sure there's a lot more gymnastics in there because we are lacking that on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I think this is the Bill and Chase effect, but my Whoop just notified me that I had elevated heart rate for an extended period of time.
You get passionate about this stuff. What happens when you get the crew together?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm curious to see how close we get. Yeah, I'm really interested because I think they are missing out on a huge opportunity if they don't, pull from their history here and make something really special. I think the community would really dig that.
Well, and when we went back and looked at these years, and this, it was really cool, especially when we talked about it in 2007. We were talking about like what was the goal? The goal was to find the fittest based on the definition of fitness for CrossFit. And like 2007, like there were 3 events, and each one checked the box all the way down, and it was so simple and easy that it was like, that's what's so weird. You look at it and you're like, oh, whatever, 2007, like that's just the barbecue. That doesn't really count. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, it really does work. 2008 was all about intensity. So we, it wasn't, you didn't find the fittest, you found the fastest, but you had elements of that were awesome. And then 2009 being kind of the birthplace of the modern games and how it was set up and how it was all put together. So you're right. If you look at all 3 of those years, I mean, they seem very infantile, but there's a lot of good stuff to pick and choose from out of that. And I think you still can, even doing what we just did, have a very well-balanced, find the fittest competition. As long as the right people are there, it's going to be amazing.
And it's funny, Bill, I wonder if you took those events from, those first 3 years at the ranch and you put them in the tennis stadium and didn't change anything, if the perception may change, just because you have something that looks like it's more of a spectacle. You didn't change the programming. It just looks different.
Yes. Yeah. And we just finished 2010. And that was a big point of it, is that, when you move to the tennis stadium, it's not like the events were like dramatically revolutionary, but it was the spectacle that now came with the CrossFit Games. And that's what the tennis stadium in Carson did, is that it made it more of a show, a sport, a showcase. And I think you're exactly to your point, is like, you don't have, and that's the thing, is like, it's CrossFit. It's not something out of this realm programming. It's like simplicity at its best is what has always been fun to watch. Yeah, I agree. That would change the perception a lot, I think, for people who don't know what the events were really like.
Yes. I mean, I'll speak from experience. Like 2010, the opening event at Amanda, I was volunteering with Rogue. Like that was the moment I fell in love with the sport, because I remember like thinking like, man, they're moving from the ranch. Like, is this going to be a mistake? They had the rig set up where everyone was facing inward on the rings. So it was like this crazy gymnastics pow on the middle. And then, there was all of a sudden a flyover, and Dave called 3, 2, 1 as soon as the national anthem was over. And I was like, oh my God, I need new shorts. What just happened? and that left a sizable impact,
All right. Well, Chase, I trust that you've written all that down, and you'll get it in the mail to Dave Castro, and you can say, here, Dave, you've done your job.
Signed, sealed, and delivered with you're welcome heart.
Yeah.
seal it with a kiss, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure you put on the date night red.
I think you'll love that. What do you guys have coming up now on Get With the Programming?
So we just dropped 2010 2 hours ago.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, which was really cool. Bill will talk about it more than me, but like that was the year that I had made it as an individual. Yeah. Luckily.
I remember that.
And so it was kind of cool to go down memory lane a little bit for myself, because I don't really do that at all, ever.
Right.
Just because I have my own feelings of how well I did and what it took to get there. But that was really neat. And it was fun starting to see the turn of the tide. So we're finishing up 2010, and then we got 9 more years to go. But what I'm really excited about is when we're done with this, because it's kind of like going back and looking at all the events and how they were, we're starting to make a tally of our favorite ones. And when it's over, we're going to do one episode of basically a bracket style winner take all favorite cross games.
Love that.
When it's all over. So we're pretty excited about that.
Heck yeah.
That's cool. We thought about doing the same thing with snack foods, but I think yours is much more entertaining.
I mean, or snack foods. I mean, it's fine. You can do it with snack foods too. It's fine.
I think you can tell which two people competed seriously and the other two just watched.
We were going to call it the Talking Elite Fitness Snack Down.
Yeah.
As long as Nutty Buddies are in there.
That's a good one.
Whoa.
Yeah, we had regions and everything. We got really serious about this and
that's awesome.
how it executed. But guys, listen, man, thank you so much for doing this. This is a blast. It's great talking to you. And yeah, I'm fired up, man. I think that if CrossFit leans into the history and puts on a really good show at Aromas, like I know they can, I think it's going to be a pretty fun event, and it'll make people forget at least temporarily about the fact that we lost so much of the season to what we're going through now.
I think it's a great point. I think that can really draw people back in that have kind of lost a little interest, and even people that fell out of love with it last year. Because you're going to bring a lot of the old guard back into the fold, and kind of renew some of that love and passion for what the sport really was about back in the Aromas days.
Yeah, and like, it's all about anytime you go back to the Mecca like that, you can't help but whether you're old school or new school, I mean, it's the birthplace. How can you not?
Right.
How can that not fire anybody up that does CrossFit? Like if you don't do CrossFit, okay, you don't get it. But if you do it now, if you've been doing it or you just started it, I mean, this is like some biblical stuff right here. So I think it's really cool. I think it's cool.
Good, right? And it's gonna be super entertaining. So yeah, guys, listen, thanks so much for doing this, taking the time to join us. It was a lot of fun. Chase and Bill, you can find them on the Get With the Programming podcast. It's available, I'm guessing, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you can find your favorite podcast. And of course, you can listen to us on Talking Elite Fitness. So for Chase Ingram, Bill Grundler, and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. That was a blast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon.